It was a cold afternoon. The city streets were busy, people rushing by in expensive suits and shiny shoes. Cars passed, music played, but no one paid attention to the old man slowly walking down the sidewalk. He wore a long, faded coat. His shoes were dusty. His shoulders were tired. His name was Mr. Ellis. He moved with quiet strength. Not fast, not slow, just steady. In his hand he held a small folded picture, the edges old and soft. He looked at it for a moment, then gently placed it back into his pocket. Ahead of him stood a tall glass building, one of the city's most luxurious restaurants, the kind where people didn't come just to eat. They came to be seen. Mr. Ellis looked up at the golden sign above the door. He smiled softly. "I made it," he whispered. He opened the door. Inside, the warm air wrapped around him. The smell of steak, fresh bread, and expensive wine filled the air. Elegant music played in the background. Waiters in black suits moved quickly between tables, serving laughing guests. But when Mr. Ellis stepped in, the mood changed. People looked up from their meals. They stared. Some frowned. Others laughed quietly. A couple near the front whispered, "Who let him in here?" One of the waiters, a young man named Jason, saw Mr. Ellis and rolled his eyes. He leaned toward another waiter and whispered, "What is he doing here? Did someone leave the back door open?" Mr. Ellis didn't hear. Or maybe he did. But he didn't react. He walked to the front desk. The manager, a tall man in a tight gray suit, looked him up and down with clear disgust. Mr. Ellis gave a small, polite nod. "Good afternoon," he said. "I'd like a table for one." The manager blinked. "I'm sorry, sir," he said in a cold voice. "We're fully booked today." Mr. Ellis glanced behind him. Several tables were empty. He turned back. "I'll wait." The manager forced a smile. "It won't help, sir. There's a private event. We cannot allow walk-ins." From the corner, Jason chuckled and said under his breath, "Private event for clean people only." Mr. Ellis looked around one more time. He saw a small table in by the back near the window. It was empty. Without a word, he walked toward it and slowly sat down. Silence fell across the restaurant. Knives paused mid-cut. Glasses were lowered. All eyes were on him. Jason stormed over, fake smile on his face. "Sir, I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave." Mr. Ellis looked up calmly. "I'll pay." Jason laughed. "With what, sir? Buttons?" "I don't think. You can afford the water here." Mr. Ellis said nothing. He simply reached into his coat pocket and took out a small old wallet. Jason raised his hands. "Sir, please, let's not make this difficult." The manager arrived, his smile tighter than before. "Sir, I already told you, we are full." "But I see empty chairs," Mr. Ellis said kindly. "That's not the point," the manager snapped. From across the room, a teenage girl was watching. She was sitting at a corner table with her father, who was too busy on his phone to notice what was happening. But the girl noticed everything. She had seen how Mr. Ellis walked in, how he spoke politely, how he was being treated. And now, she slowly picked up her phone and hit record. Back at the table, Jason's voice grew louder. "Let me make this simple for you," he said harshly. "We don't serve beggars here." The word echoed across the room. People laughed. Others looked away, pretending not to hear. Mr. Ellis stood up quietly. He didn't fight. He didn't shout. He simply nodded, placed his wallet back in his coat, and began walking toward the door. He reached the exit. He turned around one last time and looked at the smiling faces. None of them knew who he really was. Outside, the wind blew gently. Mr. Ellis sat on a bench near the entrance. He pulled out the picture again. It was of a young woman smiling, standing in front of the same restaurant years ago. He looked at it with love in his eyes. "I just wanted to see it one last time," he whispered. "For her." Back inside, the teenage girl watched her phone screen. She had filmed everything, and she had just uploaded it with the caption, "They kicked out this old man for looking poor. I hope the internet sees this." She looked at the door where Mr. Ellis had disappeared. She didn't know who he was. Not yet. The laughter inside the restaurant was loud. People talked, joked, and smiled like nothing had happened. The rich guests continued eating their expensive meals, sipping wine, and pretending they didn't see an old man being thrown out just minutes ago. Jason, the rude waiter, was back behind the counter. He laughed with another waiter, saying, "Did you see his face when I called him a beggar? Man, he looked like he hadn't eaten in days." The manager, Mr. Carlton, joined the joke. "If he comes back, call security. We don't want the homeless ruining the view for our paying customers." Everyone around laughed, but not everyone found it funny. At the corner table, the teenage girl named Lila kept looking at the door where Mr. Ellis had walked out. Her father was still on his phone, not paying attention. She whispered, "Why was everyone so cruel?" Lila opened her social media app and watched the video she had just uploaded. In the video, Mr. Ellis's voice was calm, his eyes were kind. He was polite, never rude, never angry, and yet he was treated like dirt. Lila added a caption, "This man was thrown out of a luxury restaurant just because he looked poor. Is this what we've become?" She hesitated, then hit post. Outside, Mr. Ellis sat on the cold bench across the street. His hands were shaking a little from the wind. But he wasn't bothered by the cold. He was lost in his memories. He looked again at the photo in his hand. A young woman with long braids and a bright smile. She stood in front of the same restaurant years ago holding a sign that said, "First day open, so proud of my dad." Tears filled Mr. Ellis's eyes. The woman in the picture was his daughter. Her name was Amara. She had passed away 3 years ago. A car accident took her life on the same day she was going to start working full-time with her father, helping run his restaurant business. Since that day, Mr. Ellis had walked away from the world. He stopped wearing suits, stopped going to meetings, stopped being seen. He became invisible, just another old man on the street, and nobody noticed until today. Suddenly, a sleek black car pulled up in front of him. A man in a clean black suit stepped out. He looked around, then walked quickly toward Mr. Ellis. "Sir, Mr. Ellis, are you all right?" the man asked. Ellis looked up slowly and nodded. "I'm fine, Thomas, just needed a little walk down memory lane." Thomas, his personal assistant, looked worried. "I saw the video, it's already spreading. People are talking." Mr. Ellis raised an eyebrow. "So the world still watches, even when it doesn't care." Thomas gave a small smile. "You always had a way with words, sir." Mr. Ellis stood up slowly. He looked back at the restaurant behind him. The same place Amara loved. The same place we built from nothing. And now, they threw me out of it. He took a deep breath. Thomas asked, "Do you want me to handle it? I can call the board, speak to legal." But Mr. Ellis raised a hand. "No, don't stop it. Let them see. Let the world see what this place has become." Inside, Jason and Mr. Carlton continued laughing and chatting. A waitress showed them something on her phone. "Hey, look," she said. "This girl posted a video of that old guy. It's blowing up." Jason looked, then scoffed. "So what? People post videos all the time." But as he scrolled down, he froze. Thousands of comments had appeared in just 10 minutes. "Disgusting behavior." He was so polite. How dare they treat him like that? Does anyone know who he is? Share this. This is how the rich treat the poor. Jason's smile slowly faded. Mr. Carlton grabbed the phone and turned pale. This video has over 100,000 views already," he whispered. Back outside, Mr. Ellis was now inside the black car. He sat quietly, watching the restaurant fade behind him. He spoke softly, but with power in his voice. "Let them enjoy their laughs. Let them enjoy their wine. Because soon, everything they thought they knew is about to change." Thomas looked at him. "Are you going to tell them?" Mr. Ellis nodded. "Not just them. The whole world." The next morning, the city woke up. To a storm, but it wasn't thunder. It was the internet. The video of Mr. Ellis being kicked out of the fancy restaurant had gone viral overnight. Over 10 million views in less than 24 hours. Every comment section was full of anger. This is why we need to treat everyone with respect. He was polite, calm, and they humiliated him. This old man deserves justice. Who is he? Somebody find him. News channels picked it up. YouTubers started making reaction videos. People shared it across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But the biggest surprise came when a man named Stephen Langford, CEO of a billion-dollar real estate company, tweeted something that left everyone in shock. "I know this man. That's Ellis Monroe. He's not poor. He's the owner of several buildings in this city, including the one that restaurant rents from." The internet exploded. The rude restaurant staff had humiliated the landlord of the building, and didn't even know it. Back inside the restaurant, the mood was very different from yesterday. The tables were still full, but there was tension in the air. People whispered. Phones buzzed constantly. Customers weren't looking at menus. They were watching the video. Waiters tried to act normal, but everyone felt it. Jason, the same waiter who had insulted Mr. Ellis, looked pale. He scrolled through his phone behind the counter, sweat on his forehead. His face turned red. Oh no, this can't be happening. He looked up and saw Mr. Carlton, the manager, walking toward him fast. "What did you do?" Carlton snapped. "He owns this building?" I didn't know," Jason stuttered. He looked poor. Old. Carlton slammed his fist on the table. "And now you've turned our restaurant into a joke. People are canceling reservations. We're trending for the wrong reason." At that moment, the restaurant door opened. Silence filled the room. Everyone turned. Mr. Ellis walked in. Same old coat, same dusty shoes, same quiet look in his eyes. But this time, everyone recognized him. He didn't walk with sadness. He walked with power. Behind him stood his assistant Thomas, and two lawyers dressed in black. Mr. Carlton rushed forward. "Mr. Ellis, sir, I didn't know it was you yesterday. Please accept my—" But Mr. Ellis raised his hand. His voice was calm and cold. "You knew I was a man." Carlton froze. Mr. Ellis continued. "You just didn't think I was your kind of man. That's where you failed." Jason tried to step in. "Sir, You called me a beggar in front of strangers. You laughed. You threw me out of a place I built from the ground up." Mr. Ellis turned and pointed to a painting on the wall. A painting that showed the restaurant's opening day. In the corner of that painting stood a young Ellis and his daughter Amara, holding hands. Jason's mouth dropped open. "You were the founder?" "I am the founder," Ellis said. "And the owner of this building, your boss. He pays me rent." Gasps filled the room. People started recording again. This was history being made, right in front of them. Then Mr. Ellis did something no one expected. He walked up to Lila, the teenage girl who had filmed the first video. "You stood up when no one else did," he said softly. "You saw what others ignored." Lila smiled nervously. "You didn't deserve what happened." Ellis nodded. "And now, I want to give others the same chance." He reached into his coat and handed her a letter. "Full scholarship. Any college. You want all paid." Tears filled Lila's eyes. "Why me?" she asked. "Because the world needs more people like you. People who see." The crowd clapped. Some stood up. Others cried. Mr. Ellis turned back to Carlton and Jason. "As for you two, pack your things. You're done here." Carlton tried to argue, but Ellis didn't listen. "My lawyers will handle the rest. This place is under new management now." He looked around the restaurant, at all the rich faces who had laughed, judged, or ignored him. Then he said something that would be remembered forever. "You all laughed at a man because he looked poor, but you were the ones truly empty." And with that, Mr. Ellis walked out. This time, no one tried to stop him. 2 days after the restaurant scene, news about Mr. Ellis was everywhere. TV reporters stood outside his buildings. Journalists tried to get interviews. People called him a silent billionaire, a hidden hero, a man with a message. But Mr. Ellis didn't appear on the news. He didn't care about cameras. He had only one thing on his mind: his daughter. At sunrise, Mr. Ellis stood in front of a quiet grave. The grass was wet from morning dew. A small bouquet of lilies sat gently by the name: Amara Ellis Monroe, 1991-2021. She lived with kindness. She left with love. Mr. Ellis slowly sat down beside the headstone. I did it, Amara, he whispered. They tried to break me, but I stayed standing. He pulled out the old photo again, the one where she smiled outside the restaurant on opening day. I walked into that place, and they didn't even see me. Just my coat, my shoes, nothing else. But you saw people, not clothes. That's what made you special. A tear slid down his cheek. I should have never stopped, he said. After you were gone, I disappeared. Flashback. 3 years ago. The restaurant was full of laughter and music. Amara stood at the door greeting guests. Mr. Ellis wore a clean black suit and smiled proudly. They had just won a local award for Best New Business. Everything was perfect. But then came the call. A truck driver had fallen asleep at the wheel. Amara didn't survive the crash. After that day, Mr. Ellis changed. He stopped running the restaurant. He handed control to others. He started wearing the same coat every day. Stopped speaking much, stopped caring. Present day, Mr. Ellis stood and placed the photo gently on the grave. No more hiding, he whispered. You gave me a voice. Now I'll use it. As he walked back to his car, his assistant Thomas met him halfway. There's something you need to see, sir. He handed him a tablet. The video of Lila, the teenage girl, was now trending. In it, she spoke into the camera with honesty. I filmed Mr. Ellis because it felt wrong to say nothing. I didn't know who he was, but I knew what they did to him was cruel. Turns out he's the man who built half this city. But even if he wasn't, he still deserved kindness. Poor or rich, people are people. The video had over 50 million views in just 2 days. Mr. Ellis nodded slowly. She's smart, he said. The kind of mind the world needs, Thomas. Smiled. There's more, sir. A school reached out. They want to name a reading program after Amara. They said her story inspired their students. Mr. Ellis paused, then whispered, she would have loved that. Later that day, Mr. Ellis returned to the restaurant, but this time not alone. He brought community leaders. He brought chefs from local shelters. He brought workers who had once been homeless, but trained under his programs. Outside the restaurant, a new sign was placed. Amara's Table, a restaurant for everyone built on kindness, powered by purpose. The old staff was gone. New faces smiled warmly at every guest, rich or poor, clean or dirty, dressed in suits or wearing torn jeans. No one was turned away. Everyone was served. And at the entrance, a quote written by Amara herself hung proudly. We don't ask what you have. We ask how you're doing. Inside, Lila sat at a corner table. She had been invited as the guest of honor. Mr. Ellis sat across from her, sipping tea. You changed everything, he said. She smiled. So did you. Then she asked quietly, Are you still angry about what they did to you? He shook his head. No. I'm just sad they couldn't see what matters. But maybe now, they will. The new restaurant, Amara's Table, had become a symbol of hope. People from different walks of life visited. Some came for food, some came for inspiration, but they all left with something more, a sense of being seen. Mr. Ellis, though quiet, became a legend in the city. He never looked for fame. It found him. But just as things began to feel peaceful again, the past came knocking. It was a rainy afternoon. Gray clouds hung over the city like a heavy curtain. Inside the restaurant, Mr. Ellis was reviewing the day's expenses when a familiar voice echoed from the entrance. Sir, I know I'm the last person you want to see, but please, I just need 5 minutes. Mr. Ellis looked up. It was Jason, the same waiter who had thrown him out, who called him a beggar. Now stood soaking wet, eyes filled with regret. His fancy uniform was gone. His face looked tired and pale. He held a crumpled envelope in his hand. Thomas, the assistant, stepped forward. We don't need drama here. But Ellis raised his hand. Let him speak. Jason walked in slowly. I lost everything, he said. After the video went viral, my name became poison. No restaurant would hire me. My friends stopped talking to me. My girlfriend left. He paused, swallowing his pride. And honestly, I deserved it. Mr. Ellis said nothing. Jason continued. Back then, I judged people by what they wore. I thought I was better than others, but I see now I was empty inside. He placed the envelope on the table. I've been working night shifts, deliveries, cleaning jobs. I saved what I could. Please, I want to donate this to your shelter program. It's not much, but it's honest. Mr. Ellis looked at the envelope. It wasn't thick, maybe a few dollars, a week's savings at best. But to him, it meant more than gold. He stood and looked Jason in the eye. People can change, but only if they face the mirror. Jason nodded. I've been facing it, every day. Then Mr. Ellis did something unexpected. He held out his hand. Jason blinked, confused. You're giving me a second chance, Mr. Ellis replied softly. No, I'm giving you your first real one. That evening, Jason stayed behind to mop floors. He served food quietly, took instructions humbly. Some customers recognized him and whispered, but he kept his head down. Mr. Ellis watched from the kitchen. Thomas leaned in and asked, You trust him again? Mr. Ellis smiled slightly. I trust that pain teaches better than pride ever could. The next morning, Mr. Ellis visited an old library, the same place where he and Amara used to read books together every Saturday. He walked to the children's section and sat on the same wooden bench. It creaked the same way it always did. Then, a young boy approached him. You're the restaurant man, the boy said. Mr. Ellis chuckled. Maybe. My mom said you were poor, but now you're rich. I was always rich, Ellis replied. Just didn't show it on the outside. The boy smiled. I want to be like you. Ellis leaned forward. Then be kind, even when it's hard, especially when no one's watching. Later, he stepped outside and noticed something across the street. A young man holding a sign. Looking for work. Will do anything. Please. Don't judge me. The traffic passed, people avoided eye contact. Mr. Ellis walked straight to him. What's your name, son? Leo, the man said, surprised. Come by the restaurant tomorrow, Ellis said. We'll see if you're as strong as you are honest. Leo smiled. Really? Just like that? Ellis nodded. Everyone deserves a first chapter. It had been 1 month since Amara's table opened. The restaurant was now more than just a place to eat. It had become a safe space, a second chance, and a symbol of respect. People from different cities came to visit. Some came hungry, others came curious, but all left touched by the spirit of kindness that filled the walls. And in the middle of it all stood Mr. Ellis, calm, quiet, and finally a little at peace. But one morning, everything changed. Thomas, his assistant, walked into the office holding a small brown package. Sir, he said, this just came for you. No return address. But it's old. Looks personal. Mr. Ellis looked at the handwriting. His heart skipped a beat. He slowly opened the package. Inside was a letter, yellowed by time, and a tiny silver necklace with a heart pendant. He unfolded the letter with trembling hands. Dear Dad, I know you told me never to send this, but I had to. I saw you giving away your coat last week to that man sleeping near the subway. You thought I didn't notice, but I always notice you. You raised me to believe that kindness isn't weakness, it's power. If anything ever happens to me, promise me you won't disappear. Promise me you'll keep helping, keep loving, keep showing the world that love wins. Because, Dad, you don't just feed people, you heal them. Love, Amara. Mr. Ellis closed his eyes. His hand clutched the necklace tightly. It was the one Amara wore every day, the one she never took off. He had thought it was lost after the accident, but now, somehow, it had found its way back, like a message from the past telling him, You're doing exactly what I wanted you to do. Later that day, he placed the necklace in a glass frame near the restaurant's entrance, beside Amara's photo. Below it, he wrote, She gave me the heart to keep going. Customers paused and read it. Many wiped their eyes. That evening, something else happened. A wealthy man in a sharp suit walked in. His name was Mr. Grayson, owner of the fancy restaurant where Mr. Ellis had once been kicked out. He looked uncomfortable. People whispered. Jason, who now worked full-time at Amara's table, froze when he saw him. Mr. Grayson cleared his throat and asked quietly, "Is Mr. Ellis here?" Thomas looked unsure. "What's this about?" Grayson hesitated. I came to apologize. Just..." Then Mr. Ellis stepped forward. "Let him speak." Mr. Grayson took off his hat. "That day, I wasn't there, but I saw the footage. I fired the whole team. I felt shame." He continued, voice shaking. "But I also realized something else. My place serves meals. Yours serves meaning." He pulled out an envelope. "I want to donate $500,000 to your foundation. And I'd like to learn, not as a restaurant owner, as a man." Everyone in the restaurant froze. Jason, standing nearby, whispered to Lila, "That's the same man who used to laugh at guys like me." Mr. Ellis looked at Grayson. His eyes were calm. "Money helps," he said. "But change starts with humility." Grayson nodded. "Then, maybe this is my first step." Mr. Ellis didn't shake his hand. Instead, he invited him to the kitchen. "You'll serve tonight's dinner with the rest of us." Later that night, Grayson, in a plain apron, served soup to a tired single mother. She didn't recognize him, but she smiled gratefully. Mr. Ellis watched silently from the counter, his hand resting on the necklace in the glass case. Amara's words echoed in his heart. "Kindness isn't weakness, it's power." A full year had passed since Mr. Ellis was thrown out of that fancy restaurant. Since then, everything had changed. Amara's table was no longer just a restaurant. It had become a movement. Hundreds of people had been fed. Dozens had found jobs, and hearts that had once been cold had grown warm again. Mr. Ellis, now older and slower in his walk, still greeted every guest with a smile. He no longer wore suits or tried to hide his age. He wore his past with pride, like a badge of strength. One morning, Thomas found Mr. Ellis sitting quietly in the back garden of the restaurant. The sunlight broke through the clouds, touching the flowers Amara had planted years ago. "You okay, sir?" Thomas asked gently. Mr. Ellis smiled. "I'm just thinking about her." He looked up at the sky. "She would have been proud, don't you think?" Thomas nodded. "She would have said, 'You made pain into purpose.'" Mr. Ellis laughed softly. "She always did have better words than me." That afternoon, they held a special event at the restaurant. 1 year of Amara's table. The community came in large numbers. Some wore ribbons in Amara's favorite color, light blue. Jason, the former waiter who had changed his ways, helped lead the event. Lila, the teenage girl who had recorded the first video, gave a short speech. "When I saw Mr. Ellis that day, I didn't see a poor man. I saw strength wrapped in silence. That video didn't go viral by accident. It was the world's way of saying a wake up." She turned to Mr. Ellis and said, "Thank you for never giving up." The room clapped. Some people wiped away tears. After the speeches, a young boy came to Mr. Ellis with a drawing. It showed Ellis holding hands with a girl, Amara. The boy whispered, "She lives through you." Mr. Ellis took the paper in his shaking hands. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he hugged the boy and whispered, "Yes, she does." That night, after everyone left, Mr. Ellis stayed behind to clean up. He walked slowly through the restaurant, turning off lights one by one. But when he reached the table by the window, Amara's favorite spot, he stopped. There was a small candle on the table, still glowing. Next to it, someone had placed a note. "Thank you for seeing the world through love." He sat down and looked out at the night sky. The stars were bright, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. The next morning, Thomas came to open the restaurant and found something strange. The doors were already unlocked. Inside, everything was in place, but when he walked to the table by the window, he saw him, Mr. Ellis, sitting peacefully in his chair. His eyes closed, a small smile on his lips, the photo of Amara in his hand. He had passed away in the night. The news spread across the city. TV anchors, journalists, and everyday people paid tribute. The man who taught us dignity. The father who turned pain into purpose. The heart behind Amara's table. But the restaurant did not close. In fact, it became even stronger. Jason, Lila, Thomas, and many others took charge. They added a sign at the entrance. In memory of Mr. Ellis and Amara. This table will always be open for anyone who needs a second chance. And under that, etched in gold, kindness isn't weakness, it's power. Final scene. 1 year later, a new boy walks into the restaurant. He's poor, nervous, looking for food. His clothes are torn, his shoes are broken. Jason greets him at the door and smiles. Hungry? The boy nods. Jason leads him to a table. Lila walks by and hands him a plate of warm food. He looks around, confused. How much is this? Thomas leans over and says softly, It's already been paid for, by a man who believed in you, even if you've never met him. The boy begins to cry, and as the camera zooms out, the framed photo of Mr. Ellis and Amara shines under the soft light, because even though he was gone,